Malefactors attacked a defenseless child and grandmother without thinking who they were messing with. Criminals escaped from prison and attacked a little boy, but they never imagined who would defend him. When his old grandmother left her house that Sunday to go to Mass with her grandson, she never imagined that their lives would be in terrible danger, because some scary criminals recently escaped from prison trying to kidnap the poor old lady and her grandson. But a huge and hot dog came out of nowhere to protect the little family. Young Andre was a poor 11-year-old boy who all his life was surrounded by tragedy and misfortune. It was his father, a famous thief and swindler in the area, who 4 years ago had been caught by the police and was now serving a prison sentence. Her mother, on the other hand, was a substance abuser and was not fit even to take care of herself, much less a small child. Therefore, it came as no surprise to anyone when authorities found the young woman's lifeless body dead from an overdose. From that moment on, the infant's life took a 180-degree turn, full of traumas from his troubled childhood and now motherless. Little Andre's future was totally uncertain, but a humble and nice old lady would come into the boy's life. Andre to bring him some hope. That old lady was Donna Marcella, Andre's paternal grandmother and the last direct relative of the unfortunate young boy. That woman assumed full responsibility for the little boy, and for 5 years, she took care of her grandson with much love and dedication. Donna Marcella was a poor old woman who lived in a small wooden house on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by forest and small crops that provided her with everything she needed to survive. The lady lived solely off the land and her animals. She didn't have much, but they could live comfortably. Unfortunately, there was something that the lady deeply regretted and tormented her as the worst mistake of her life. That was to have left her son Andre's father alone. The lady, during her youth, tried to do everything possible to guide the man on the right path, but bad influences and greed led him to delinquency. For that reason, the old lady did not plan to let something like that happen to her grandson, and at 70 years old, she undertook the difficult task of raising a child again. At first, it was very difficult. Little Andre could not get used to life in the countryside, where there were many insects. It was cold, and at night, the darkness took over everything. It was very difficult for the little boy to learn to live in such a precarious environment, until one day something incredible happened and changed his vision of life forever. One morning, Andre was awakened by the unmistakable sound of a dog howling. In this case, it was Macha, his grandmother Marcella's pet. Quickly, the little boy ran out looking for the animal, thinking that someone was mistreating him. But on the contrary, what the young man found was something wonderful, because that animal had just given birth to 2 beautiful little German Shepherd puppies, who for the first time saw the light of day. At last, the child could live in peace and contemplate God's perfect creation. Donna Marcella was very happy, and little by little they built a home. Until one day, terrible news made the poor old lady cry. She could not believe what they were telling her. It turned out that Donna Marcella's son had planned a plan to escape from prison with 2 other fellow inmates. They planned to use the lunch hour to mislead the guards and escape from that place. Unfortunately, their plan did not work as planned, and the lady's son was shot by the authorities in his escape attempt. While his fellow criminals managed to escape to freedom, the man responsible for shooting Andre's father was found innocent of all charges, and he was in the line of duty as a prison guard, and therefore would never pay for taking his life. Donna Marcella was devastated, because her son, even though he was a delinquent, she still loved him very much and felt guilty for not having taken him to the right path. However, she had to be strong for Andre, since he was the only family she had left alive. As the days went by, Donna Marcella did everything she could to take care of and protect her grandson, while she felt sad for the death of her only son. One Sunday morning, the boy and his grandmother prepared everything to attend the weekly mass, where they would pray for the eternal rest of the soul of Andre's deceased father. However, the unmistakable sound of the front door of the house completely interrupted the departure of the little boy and the lady. And when Donna Marcella opened the door of the humble hut, A terrible fear and an enormous panic accelerated her heart. Standing in the doorway were two well-built adult men, with tired faces and wearing dirty, torn clothes. Both men carried a pair of old knives and, knife in hand, threatened the old lady to let them in. Once inside the house, the men introduced themselves as Adam Ward, known as the Napoleon of crime, who had embarked to evade the law in his country, and Alan Golder, a jewel thief who began his criminal career when he was only 6 years old, and by chance they were friends of Donna Marcella's deceased son. But these two had managed to escape from jail. The day their son died, Adam and Alan began to talk to the lady and told her that Andres' father owed them a large amount of money for favors they had done inside the prison. And so, now that he had died, it was up to his mother, Donna Marcella, to pay for the broken dishes of her son, who, after his death, was still giving problems to the poor lady. The lady then began to tremble with fear, claiming that she was very poor and lived on what they gave her and therefore could not afford to pay the enormous sum they were asking for. The criminals felt very offended by the response of the old lady. With great rage, they began to shout all kinds of insults and outrages to the old lady, who began to cry immediately. It was then when Andre came out of his room and saw those men in the living room of his house. "Run, Andre!" shouted the grandmother in terror. The boy obeyed his grandmother's order, and like a bolt of lightning, he ran out of the door. One of the men began to chase him with a knife in his hand, when something unexpected happened out of nowhere. A huge German Shepherd dog lunged at the criminal, biting his hand and leaving the assailant weaponless. His criminal companion came out of the house to support his friend, but was intercepted by two other dogs a little smaller but just as strong and brave, who with claws and teeth defended the poor old lady and her grandson from those heartless evildoers. After disarming the men, Donna Marcella managed to ask for help from a nearby neighbor, and once the situation was under control, both criminals were taken back to prison, but this time they would never see the light of day again. That Sunday would have ended in a terrible tragedy, but thanks to the strength and courage of a trio of dogs, Donna Marcella and her grandson Andre lived happily in their humble little house forever. Well, dear friends, this is the end of our story. If you liked it, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to receive a notification every time we upload a video. For now, we can only invite you to wait for us in our next story. See you soon!